All right, so check it out. Red Dawn Media going live right here on an historic night in a bad way. As it's been a while since I've done a live stream here on the Red Dawn Media channel. And, I've got my eyes going this way, my eyes going that way. I integrated what I call the bug out cam, so you can see the bug out cam. The body's contorting, but the message is all the same tonight. It comes down to a couple things. Number one, the t-shirt kind of says the story, right? Number two, I asked Mom what she thought tonight, and Mom said one thing. Mom's always right. Pray for Israel. Because tonight, historic in the wrong sort of way. Not because I'm making a live stream, which it's been a long time since I did a live stream. So I'm out of practice. It's like spring training. It's actually like when pitchers and catchers arrive. Or right now, more apropos in football, mini camps. A little out of practice, but just such a big story. I've been wanting to come back and do the live stream. I have to do it. So if the lights are a little bit off, or I'm just, again, contorting, it doesn't mean that I'm flexible. It just means I'm out of practice, so I'm all over the place. But the point is, it's time to talk about Israel. Yes, let's pray for Israel. Because what Israel is doing right now is basically taking out the world's garbage. The world's garbage being Iran. Now, I can go back to when I was a little kid. I remember listening to Bomb, 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 Iran. I won't sing it. I almost pulled it up tonight. I just didn't have enough time to get everything together, but I got some good clips. And of course, I can talk. And I have an opinion. You should have one too. But I remember waiting in line as a little kid, my old man and brother, for gasoline during the Jimmy Carter era of his presidency. And he was at odds with Iran, and of course there were a couple hundred hostages that Iran took. President Reagan took over in 1980, a landslide victory, gave the Republicans back control. Within 1 day of being inaugurated, literally minutes, he settled it. The hostages came back home. But my point is that Jimmy Carter opened the door. And of course, in politics, you have roller coaster rides of the Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives. They usually had agreed to disagree, but right now, we've got our own battle in America, but a bigger one ensuing in the Middle East. You open the floodgates for Iran in my lifetime when I was a kid, and it continues on as unfortunately, okay? Frickin' frack. Dumb and Dumber. Well, they opened the floodgates. Because if you remember, these two puppets, and they're puppet maestros, they're string pullers, whoever the hell is in control in the White House, right? They allowed these two to unfreeze nearly $7 billion in assets for this bogus giving money for hostages. What did that mean? Iran became rich again. President Trump, in his first go-around, he bankrupted Iran. They became rich again. They were able to sell their oil. They were able to, more importantly, start building their nuclear program. Now, as the headlines come out and the Middle East prepares for maybe the most historic of wars or strikes, as you see Israel in my attempt to do a telestrated arrow, which is maybe kindergarten, first grade level, but you see the point. You can see little old Israel, right? The size of like Massachusetts, going left to right. And where Iran is, Iran's got a lot of land mass. It's a big country in the Middle East. And that's where the battle will ensue as it goes between Syria, Jordan, Iraq. And I'm going to try to roll up some video from one of the news agencies. This is, if I can speak, this is Al Jazeera.
فرحزاده پایین بالش کاملا تخریب شده و سوخته، پایینش سالمه.
امضاشون چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن، نامه‌شون چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن. بابا چیکار؟
امید نیاوران.
ساعت الان 3:37 ورودی فرحزاده پایین.
Now, news agencies also reporting that this is from Iranian state media, so they're confirming that the Iranian Royal Guard, their head man, Hussein Salami, killed in the Israeli strikes. And again, the Middle East under siege. And what was President Netanyahu to do? Right? Hands are tied. Netanyahu just got a vote of confidence that put him back as president for years to come. Israel, right now, on the brink of extinction. And when people talk nowadays about genocide, and you get all these creeps and they're supporting these losers and the other groups, Hezbollah, the Houthis, fighting these proxy wars for Iran. Their sole mission is to wipe Israel right off this friggin' map. And that's been the case since the beginning of time. And when you're a Jew and you're in the tribe, you get this inherent feeling that there could absolutely be no tomorrow for Israel. Even today, I mean, you talk about the ultimate, right? Not only is the New York Times reporting, that's one, but Iran is breaking rules on nuclear activity, UN watchdog group says. So they're cheating. And you knew when he came back into office, when the cat was away, Trump, the mouse, they played. All the scumbags. They knew Biden wasn't going to do anything. Cackler called her a border czar. Can you imagine that, Kamala? They did what they want. Trump is back. Israel in the crosshairs. And here we go. Strikes on Iran are suddenly happening.
We do begin with that breaking news in the Middle East and now escalating fears of an all-out war in the region. The IDF has confirmed Israel has hit nuclear targets. Officials say dozens of jets completed the first stage that included strikes on dozens of military targets, including nuclear ones. Our producer on the ground in Tehran heard blasts around the city. Our teams have reported air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The strikes come as the U.S. has planned nuclear talks with Iranian officials this weekend. We'll go to Tel Aviv in just a moment, but first let's go straight.
We're just kind of breaking in and out of that I can't speak, ABC. It should be the easiest thing to say, right? You can say USA, but you take a look at that map, and that's we the people. And you see how things work. I mean, I think every day, God forbid, the cackler Harris Kamala won. She didn't. We the people spoke. All that red. The Republican, you know the deal, over the little specks, the pimples on the ass, the libtards. That doesn't happen. Who knows what's in America, but who knows what would happen to Israel right now. We knew what happened on October 7th. The floodgates opened once Trump got back into office. Trump's back in office. Well, guess what? Well, the cat's back. The mice won't play. So that's how it goes. That's fate. That's destiny. What will happen with Israel? I don't know right now, but I can tell you this much. As a Jew, the will to win is superseded by simply the will to survive and just to be alive and to have generations of Jews be able to flourish and continue on. Listen, my grandmother, she was in Auschwitz. God bless her soul. Okay? Over a handful of her siblings, gone. Parents, gassed. She and her siblings, some cousins, the only ones that made it over here. On the boats to Ellis Island. Nearly extinct. In other words, I'm a miracle child in a lot of ways. I'm here. I shouldn't be talking. Her will to succeed, to survive, come to this country, succeed, and make the most of her opportunity. And she is fortunate enough to survive at the hands of the Nazis. And she's rolling over in her grave right now. But growing up, hearing these stories, okay? And she was in, again, Auschwitz. I'm not surprised, absolutely not surprised that Iran wants to wipe the Jews off the map. But what's been going on here in the United States of America? Okay? Now, this doesn't happen. We're in deep shit. And that's it. But thank God Trump won. And the world now is completely falling apart. But there's always a but. There's a chance to remedy the situation and have peace. Now, you got to remember, too, not for nothing. This guy right here, worthy of a Nobel Peace Prize. His first time around as POTUS. No doubt about that. Because of the Abraham Accords and what he was able to do in the Middle East. And he's been teasing it and wants to get back. And the truth of the matter is, you look at all these countries, okay, that he visited. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar. They want peace. The Middle East, why? Because it means money. And I'm sure they want peace with Israel because it means big business. But there's always a bully. There's always an evil empire in the way. And right now it's Iran. So what Israel's going to do is they're going to take all their technology, all their weaponry, which is some of the absolute best in the world. And I'm trying to get viewers, but I know one thing. Mudda Munitions, he's watching. So Mudda Munitions, thank you. From Red Dawn Media. Now Israel's going to go, and they're going to take everything they've got, what do they say, the whole kitchen sink, and they're going to find all their technology and all their intel, and they have some of the best in the world, and they're fighters, equipped to do it on the down low or out in the open like they did in eradicating the outside of Gaza and the inside, being the tunnels. They completely demolished Gaza. They're going to find a way to do the same thing in Iran to that nuclear program. And that's it. There's no other choice right now. And Israel also has the goods, meaning that the United States gave them the bunker busters. So they've got the ability to do it with their troops, with their intelligence, with the way they conduct themselves in execution, and being able to have one of the strongest militaries in the world. Look how little that country is. And of course, they've gotten some help from their friends, like the Iron Dome. And some of the other tools. Now, nothing is foolproof, but you kind of see how it works. So they've got the ability now to go on offense when they've had to play defense. And of course, we got no choice to do so, because look what happened on October 7th. Threw babies in ovens, raped women. They took Israel with a savage attack, a surprise attack. And in the end, it really took the course of the world in another direction. Would have never happened if Trump was president. Absolutely not. But like I said, Biden and Kamala took over. So we should see what happens now. We shall see. This is not going to be an overnight thing. This is going to take a long time. And then you start thinking too, Iron Dome or not, what the retaliatory efforts by Iran are going to be. And again, you just pray for Israel. Because by landmass, it's a shrimp of a country. And for all intents and purposes, until those accords are reached and there can be true peace in the Middle East, Israel is by itself, on its own. It's a lone wolf trying to survive. Look how big that United States is, right? By land mass and size, just compared to Israel. And the IDF, one of the greatest fighting armies in the world. They're going to have their hands full. They've had their hands full. They've been fighting a war now for over 2 years. They've been fighting a war since their existence in the early 40s. There's always going to be unrest, and you always have to be on the defense and ready to go on the offense. That's the world we live in, unfortunately. Jews get pissed on. They get overlooked. Look at anti-Semitism. Again, it doesn't surprise me. But when I went to college, I never heard an anti-Semitic slur. I never heard a racial slur. There was no divisiveness. It was a completely different world. But look at the Ivy League schools now. They're not schools. They're not institutions of higher learning. These are indoctrination factories, supplemented and funded by demonic filth, by the terror agencies themselves. And the rad left will claim that the students that have been apprehended, the ringleaders, so to speak, right? They're just students. They're just exercising their right to protest. They're agents. Some of them have direct ties to these guys, which have direct ties to Iran. They're funded, they're planted to rebel rouse, to provoke, and God forbid, who knows? We saw what happened this week in Los Angeles. The worst of the worst are in our country right now here in the United States. So my point is, you don't know what the carryover is going to be from all that happens here. And all that happens to them. Somehow, it could erupt here. And you bet there are sleeper cells. And there's all kinds of filth that came into the United States under the direction of this piece of dreck. And that's a quick strike for Israel. You go ahead and you cut the head of the snake off. And that's essentially what you have to do to get it done. So again, here's what's going on in Israel. Let's take a look at the video here by Al Jazeera. And this is Tehran tonight, at least East Coast time in the United States.
پایینش سالمه.
امضاشون چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن، نامه‌شون چپ بیاد اینجا رو میزنن. بابا چیا؟
امید نیاوران ساعت الان 3:37 ورودی فرهزاده پایین.
بالش کاملا تخریب شده و سوخته.
So it's just the same video on a loop, right? But you see what's going on. And of course, like any war zone, they strike at night, or any counterintelligence mission like this, they'll strike at night, and then you see the destruction in the morning. It's the same thing when an act of God, an earthquake happens, a hurricane, tornado. Your mind is blown away by those pictures you see at night, and then when you see the actual destruction under daylight the next day, you're like, wow. In other words, you're going to see the might and the force of Israel. They're going to go scorched earth. There is no tomorrow for Jews. I've said that over and over in my life, and I've had that feeling my whole entire life. He knows the feeling. Everyone here, they know the feeling. And it's just something you're born with as a member of the tribe. As you see the headlines tonight, Israel strikes Iran. Defense minister declares state of emergency. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, the United States is not involved. And these are from Breitbart. Iranian dissident group reveals regime's covert desert plan, nuclear bomb program. So yeah, Iran has gone off the rails, as the New York Times, I can't believe I'm quoting the New York Times, as they reported today. They're breaking rules on their nuclear activity. When the United Nations is talking smack against Iran, again, you know you've got trouble in River City. And as far as Jews, like I said, having to explain, well, guess what? Yeah, we're done explaining our right to exist. F Iran. F Hamas. And pray for Israel and pray for world peace. Now, I just wanted to bust in with a little bit of a live stream tonight. You know, wet the whistle, get the juices going, break out the equipment, get back, see? Just as I was quoting, get back into practice. But I'm Matt Levine here in Red Dawn Media. Go ahead, like, subscribe to the channel. Your support is welcome. I thank you for joining me. I put a ton of content on there, but I want to, again, get back to the live streams. Now, they're going to have this weekend here in Fort Lauderdale, all over the country. The Rad Left is going to try to have this King's Day, they're calling it, right? In other words, they're going to try to stick the middle finger to Trump and try to rebel rouse and take some attention off of President Trump's birthday, which happens to be the celebration of all celebrations in Washington, D.C. This weekend there'll be a parade with some of the most sophisticated weaponry, technology that the United States Army will put on display to celebrate their 250th anniversary, which happens to fall on President Trump's birthday. So it's going to be a huge, huge event in D.C., but around the country in pockets there's going to be these King Day protests. King's Day, I should say, protest. What's it mean for me? Well, this camera that I'm staring into and the tripod it's on and the rest of my gear, probably go out and shoot. I'm going to see if there's like a Trump flag wave in the area too, because I want to go get the peeps, you know, the real Americans. But I will go out there and I'll shoot and I'll try to live stream, see what the creepy Rad Left is doing to try to ruin President Trump's birthday, which no one other than them care about. What a waste of time. Just think, weeks ago, they were throwing Molotov cocktails at Tesla dealerships. Now, it's all the focus is on Trump, right? No Elon. Story for a different day. But the story today, again, it comes down to the existence of Israel and their right to be a sovereign nation and exist and flourish in the Middle East and not be messed with by Iran or their nuclear bombs. Because guess what? Israel today, everyone else tomorrow. And tomorrow could be today. Like I said, look to your left, look to your right, look in front of you, looking back at you. We have illegal immigrants, invaders from all pockets of the world, including terrorists amongst us. So you got to not only pray for Israel, but you've got to pray for the United States of America. Because peace in Israel is better for the entire world, and it means peace in the United States. So with that said, I'm going to dip out. All I can say is peace on earth. Have yourself a good night. Let's see what happens as the events transpire in the Middle East.